understanding Juventus. But to understand Juventus, you have to understand Spalletti. To understand Spalletti, you have to understand his tactics, his ideology, and most importantly, his principles of play. Because Juventus against Udinese, that was a good game. I know it was a good game. Some nice moments. You were beginning to see some positive signs, some baby steps. Okay, so in this video, we will break down those baby steps. We will break down how Spalletti is getting this team to play in and out of possession, what they do, what positions they occupy, and why. Like, Juventus have won their last 3 games, and to be fair, they're beginning to pick up some steam. They're beginning to pick up some form. They're scoring more goals. Let's just look at the stats real quickly. Ever since Spalletti took over, he's won 4 out of 7 games across all competitions. Juventus have won their last 3. Average possession throughout a 90-minute game has gone up by 17.2% since Igor Tudor was around. That is very impressive. Like, 17.2%, like, that's very, very, very good. And the average shot count per game has gone up by roughly 4.2 per 90. Once again, baby steps. Before we get into the fancy stuff, 2 favors. Like, subscribe, and hype the video. I've never ever asked you guys to hype the video, but I want to see if it benefits me in any way. You never know, I might get 100k views. Hype the video. It's free. It's a little button in the comments. Let's get straight into it. Okay, now let's talk about build up in possession. As we all know, Spalletti sets them up in the 5-2-3 shape, identical to Igor Tudor. But where it's different, Juventus, once they regain possession or they're playing out of the back, they transform into this 3-2-5. Why? Why the 3-2-5? Why is the 3-2-5 an in possession shape that, let's just say, 99.9% of managers across the world use? Triangles. Everybody loves a triangle. I know every single one of you guys has been in a love triangle. My point is, triangles. Triangles are lovely. Triangles are great in terms of ball progression. Triangles are great in terms of stopping transitions. And triangles are great in terms of creating extra layers in defense, in midfield, in attack. It makes passing the ball far quicker. You could see from the footage, this is how Juventus would set up when it comes to the triangles. You could see every single player on the ball has got a passing angle to his left, to his right, ahead of him. Some are fortunate to have triangles even behind them. The midfielders, they've got triangles ahead of them. They've got triangles behind them. David, triangle to his left, triangles to his right. Triangles all over the field. Now, how is it paying dividends in game? Let's look at the game, for example, against Udinese. The first example that comes to mind, towards the end of the game when Edin Zagrova came onto the field. Amazing performance, and this is him in first gear. This is him having not played football for about 12 months. Now imagine what he can do once he starts playing on a weekly basis. My point is, you could see Zagrova, he could easily be occupying the flanks, or shall we say running in behind like a traditional winger does, or a roaming number 10 would do. No, Zagrova dropped. Now when Zagrova drops, he already builds himself a little mini triangle between himself, Kalulu, and McKennie. But the standout performer for me, like outside of goals and assists under Spalletti, is Weston McKennie. I think he's been amazing, okay? McKennie is very good at like assessing situations, and he's a very willing runner. When Zagrova drops, look at the little box and look at where the space is. McKennie's telling him, I'm now going to run in. Like, you see that space that McKennie's about to run into? That's what you would call like the half space for those number 10s. Like, Kenan Yildiz occupies that exact same space, but on the left-hand side. Zagrova dropping left that space. When he left that space, McKennie ran in behind. Within a matter of seconds, look at the position that McKennie is in. He puts it across the box. Udinese clear it. My point is, start it off with a triangle. One player drops, leaving you space in behind, which is unoccupied. You attack the space, one pass, one progressive pass, and you're in on goal to create yourself a goal scoring opportunity. We can also talk about an opportunity in the first half, including David, Cabal, and Cop Miners. Jonathan David, I think Spalletti is really like beginning to appreciate his game, because you see David, he drops. He does the give and go with Cabal. Cop Miners, who was actually playing in midfield, he realizes David has dropped. So if David has now dropped, and David, you could see, whilst dropping, he's taken an Udinese defender with him. The defender that's now supposed to be occupying the space that David has now left. Cop Miners runs in behind. David into Cabal. Cabal first time out wide into Cop Miners, running the channels. 1-2 passes, one triangle, breaks down any low block, any mid block, any high line. So all of these elements, like in-game elements, are what you would put down as positional rotation slash positional play. I'm not saying Juventus are like now the next big thing and Juventus are going to go unbeaten from now till the end of the Serie A campaign. No, but I'm saying baby steps. If this is what he can do in what, just over a month with a lot of injuries and games coming quick and fast every 2 to 3 days, imagine what he can do in the next 2 to 3 months once more players are back, once more players are integrated. Positional play, positional rotation. It's all about chopping and changing with your teammates, but understanding if he goes, I sit. If I go, he sits. If I drift inwards, he drifts outwards. Why? You have to always maintain width. If you maintain width, you create space in the center of the field. You look at this graphic, for example. This is like a little in-game example against Udinese, where you could see all the Juventus players are moving, but when they move, they automatically will take with them whichever player is marking them. If you're a winger, and a fullback is marking you, that winger will follow you. Sorry, that fullback will follow you no matter where you go. If somebody like Conceição drifts in behind, somebody is following him. It then creates space for somebody like McKennie to run inward. Any team doesn't want to come up against a team like this. And I'll be honest, guys, I think some of the best teams in the world deploy this on a heavy basis. Yeah, they deploy this week in, week out. They punish the opposition. Why? Because in 1 minute, you're coming up against my striker. But 30 seconds later, you're coming up against my winger. And then 5 seconds later, my winger has tucked inside to create space for the midfielder. You need players that are comfortable all over the field. And there's a reason why I mentioned somebody like Weston McKennie, because he's been flourishing in this role. He's a willing runner. He understands decoy runs. I love decoy runs in football. A decoy run is just basically where you will run into space knowing you're not receiving the ball. Like, you know, when I go on this 10-yard sprint, I'm not receiving the ball. But I do it to take somebody with me, which then creates space for somebody to run into, and they will receive the ball in a far more dangerous area. For example, let's look at the penalty that Juventus won against Udinese, okay? This is the perfect breakdown of Juventus doing positional rotations, but players understanding their roles and understanding how to exploit Udinese. You look at, for example, the ball, I believe it was Cop Miners or Lloyd Kelly that fed the ball into Jonathan David. Now, you could see Jonathan David leaving his central position as a striker and going out wide to the left-hand side. Now, the minute he does that, he's automatically attracted the centre-back, the Udinese centre-back. Just the way football works is a lot of opposition centre-backs are not going to leave you just to roam all over the field because they don't want you to receive the ball with no pressure. No, they want to be up your arse in a sense, okay? My point is, David will drift out wide to the left-hand side. He's taken the Udinese defender with him. Now, guess which player has left his position? The Udinese defender. And guess what Cabal just done? He went, ran in behind. You could see the little box. It's all there. That's the space to attack. Some teams, they don't exploit this space. Cabal would have just sat back. No, Cabal was like, David's dropped, dragged somebody with him. There's space in behind. I'm going to make this run. David does really, really, really well. Holds up the ball, flicks it around the corner. Cabal is in. Gets into the Udinese's box, wins his team a penalty. It's easy. Like, when you watch it, it's genuinely so easy. There was an example, like, towards the end of the game where 2 passes and McKennie fed in Openda. The point is, move the opposition, exploit the space. And I think Juventus are doing it really, really, really well so far under Spalletti. And you have to bear in mind, it gets better, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. I think it will get far better once you move away from a back three. Why? Because if you move away from a back three, you can now afford to put in an extra midfielder. You can now afford to put in an extra attacker. If you're going to be a team that dominates 60, 65, 70% of the ball, you have to bear in mind, 70% of the game, you've got the ball. Like, you've got the ball throughout the majority of the game. So you're not on the back foot. You're not going to be as tested as much. So if that is the case, why do you need an extra defender? If you're going to have 70% of the ball, you would rather have yourself an extra midfielder, because now it's an extra passing angle. Now it's an extra ball progressor. Now it's an extra decoy runner. Now it's an extra goal scorer on the field. I just feel like Spalletti's walked in and he's like, assess the situation. You guys have been playing 3-4-3. Sorry, you guys have been playing 3-4-3 for the past 3, 4, 5, 6 months. From when Tudor took over towards the end of the Serie A 2024-2025 to the Club World Cup to the first 10-ish games of the Serie A this season. Roughly 30 games. He's walked in and said, if I was to make 1, a principle change, 2, an identity change, and 3 a formation change, it might be too much for every single one of you guys. So let's stick to the same formation, but different principles. I want to play ground football. Tudor, he wanted it high, he wanted it vertical. Under Spalletti, they're calm, they're patient. It's baby steps. I'll be honest with you guys, it's baby steps, but it's a very, very, very positive sign when you just look at the players that he's utilizing and the fact that he's done it in a very short space of time. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and hype the video for me. Catch you on another one.